All right. Welcome back to the Lindroth Hockey Podcast. We're in partnership with Black and Gold Hockey Productions. You're here with co-host, father and son duo this time, Andrew and Jim Lindroth. Dad, it's nice to have you back on today. How are you?
Hey, thanks, Andrew. Yeah, I had to do a little bit of travel in there, and Andrew is actually at work, so he's not in the studio, so his audio might be a little raspy, but glad to have him. Andrew, we've been trying for a year to get this guy on. We finally had a good connection. We got him on. Give us the intro. I'm excited.
Yeah, and this one's going to be for our Sheffield listeners today. So today we have Brandon McNally on the show. So Brandon played in the USHS for his high school, Belmont High School, and was also captain his senior year. Following his teenage days, he committed to Dartmouth College and played for the team from 2011 to 2015, and even made a short AHL appearance at the tail end of his senior year. Once Brandon officially joined the pros full-time, he battled out between the ECHL and AHL from 2015 to 2018 before making his journey overseas to play professionally. From there, he played Italy for the next few years, then made his way through Denmark and Sweden, and now has ended up in the EIHL last season with the Cardiff Devils, and now this year a fan favorite in Sheffield. Without further ado, welcome Brandon McNally. How are you today, man?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me.
So, Brandon, you start off here in Belmont. You're from Saugus, and of course, the Sheffield listeners, this is the Boston area where Andrew and I are originally from. So you're in Saugus. You went to Belmont, an affluent school. How did you end up in Belmont from Saugus?
The North Shore of Boston, I'm from. Yeah. Yeah, it was just a good opportunity for me to go play hockey. Belmont Hill is a really, really good school. I know not many people maybe know about it, but we have a lot of guys that play in the NHL right now. Like I played with VZ for a couple years. I played with Grizzlick. Condon was our goalie. Yeah. So it's a pretty good hockey school, but it was more of academics.
Yeah.
So you committed to Dartmouth College. Was there any other tables or any other offer on the table at all from any other schools?
Yeah. I had a couple of Hockey East schools that were interested. Most of the schools wanted me to take a year off. I actually have a pretty good story. I was on the Dartmouth campus my junior year of Belmont Hill, and I was getting offers from a few schools, and it came down between Harvard and Dartmouth. And I remember we were in the campus, and Dave Peters was my recruiter. He was the assistant coach at Dartmouth, and he said, and when you're a Boston kid, you know, your dream's to play in the Beanpot. So I told him, like, I want to play in the Beanpot. Like, you know, that's every Boston kid's dream. And he said, I'll always remember this. He said, "Do you want to play in the Beanpot, or do you want to win a Beanpot?" Because that was when, you know, BU and BC were dominant. So yeah, they wanted me right away, and they really wanted me. If I felt good about going there, because you could tell, like, he wanted me to go, and I could go right after high school. So it was a perfect fit for me.
So you do well there at Dartmouth, and you know you're producing numbers that look real good. How did the coaching staff there help prepare you as a pro? Because you only got 4 quick seasons, and then you start your pro career.
Yeah, I mean, Dave Peters, I had a lot of conversation with him, but there was a couple of development camps that I was invited to. Like my sophomore year, I want to say I was invited to Tampa's development camp. So I'm trying to remember who was there. Like Vasilevsky was there. Nemestikov was there. So that was, you learn really quickly what it takes to, you know, fit in with those guys. And luckily, I think it was my sophomore year, I found out pretty quick, like, what it takes, you know, to get to that next level. And then my junior year, I went to Montreal's training camp, development camp, and then did a Montreal development camp tournament. So I got to play a few games there. So that definitely helped kind of understand what pro hockey life is like. But yeah, Dartmouth overall was just a great experience for me. I had a great time there. It's more, I mean, the hockey was fun, but the school was a lot more fun.
So yeah, your senior year, and we've seen this quite a bit now with the guests that we've interviewed, and we didn't know it was even a thing, but tail end of your senior year, it ends, and then I believe you're still in school at the time, not haven't graduated yet, and you get to make your first stint in the AHL. First of all, is that pretty common? Because we've noticed that a lot, but it's been a lot with former players, like players that had played in the 90s, early 2000s. But what is the story of you getting that first pro contract at the end of your senior year season, and the transition, just going straight from college to AHL?
So Dartmouth does it a little different because they do trimesters. So it's not because of hockey. It's for students that want to maybe do a semester abroad. So when you're a sophomore, it's called a sophomore summer. So everyone stays there in the summer. So it's a fall, winter, spring for your trimesters. So I stayed there my sophomore summer, which means I basically graduated early. So I didn't have my senior spring. So I was eligible to go right away. And then, yeah, I went with Hamilton, Montreal's affiliate. Being a Boston guy, my family didn't take that too kindly. But yeah. So I went there. I joined them at the end of my college career. Played a couple of games, and yeah, that was it.
So I've got the next question, but I've got a follow-up. So what was it like in the Beanpot?
What was it like in the Beanpot?
Yeah.
Well, I never got to play it, but
You never got to play it?
no, not Dartmouth. It's Harvard, BU, BC,
Oh,
Northeastern.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, we would always go because it'd be at I'm pretty sure it was the Fleet Center back then.
Yeah. Well, I'm old. It used to be the old Garden.
Yeah, the Garden.
All right. So you're going from full cage to AHL, where, grown men are fighting to, put food on the table for their family. Talk about the transition from collegiate hockey into pro.
Yeah, I mean, it was it was an eye opener for sure when I got to Hamilton, Ontario. I got there and I kind of felt out of place at the beginning. It was like, wow, these guys are big, strong, fast hockey players. I mean, the fighting so much didn't really intimidate me just because, I mean, we're North Shore guys from Boston.
Right.
That's normal. That's normal for summer hockey. So that didn't really intimidate me too much. It was more like the speed and thinking the game, and kind of having that confidence and realizing that, hey, I can play here and I can stay here.
So you haven't been a stranger to physical play either. I mean, even back in your high school days, you almost got 100 penalty minutes in the season. When did you develop that physicality in your game? And I don't necessarily mean like the fighting and stuff either, because that's always something that's been a part of the game, but just the role that you play on teams, the power forward type role. When did you develop that?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I was just a lot bigger than everyone else in high school, but it just felt like I just needed to outwork everyone just because everyone was so talented and skilled, and like my high school team was really good. And you're watching Grizzly skate around, like you got to figure out something to stick around or have your role. And mine was just working hard and pushing myself, my teammates, the opponent, like to the limit, and seeing how far you could go. And I've definitely crossed that line quite a bit, but I think that's why I've been somewhat successful so far.
Was there ever a sort of an eye-opening moment in your first year pro that you had to kind of say, whoa, this is a little bit different game, and you had to change either mentally or physically how you approached the game?
Well, my first game pro was I'm trying to think of who was on the other team. I want to say it was like Devin Setaguchi. It was like a long time NHL guy. And I was just like, whoa, like I'm on the same ice as this guy. But it was funny because the first game, one of my teammates, Bobby Butler, he played in Fort Wayne. Oh no, sorry, not Bobby, but Bobby Shea, Fort Wayne, tough guy. He had a fight and he he punched the guy hit his head on the back of the stanchion, and they got taken out in the stretcher. And I was like, this is pro hockey, I guess. But yeah, the more I stuck with it, and the more I just realized like they took you for a reason. It gave me the confidence to I can play here.
So
Do you think? Oh, go ahead, Dad.
yeah, so just to follow up a little bit. So how tough is it? And we've asked this question of guys that have played both in the American League and the East Coast League, where you've got NHL contracted players that go up and down between the leagues like that. And it's difficult for a guy that doesn't have the NHL contract to actually get the call up from the East Coast to the American League. So when you're doing this, what is it like when you're being called up and you get down, but you're called up, but you're not the contracted player? How difficult is it? And does it mess up the chemistry of, say, the East Coast team to have players constantly doing that?
I would say, well, the American League is, an internal battle every day. Like you're competing against your line mate, you're competing against everyone to just either stick around or to get that call up. Like when I was in St. John's, I wasn't playing too much. Like I was fourth line. I was playing with John Scott, Eric Nielsen, who I think he played in Manch for a while. Two tough guys. Like I didn't really have a role. I was trying to just, figure out. And then I got sent down to Brampton, and it was almost like a breath of fresh air. Like now I could just play. Like it wasn't really, you're battling against your line mates or something. It felt more of like a team camaraderie. So yeah, that's what I would say the biggest difference between the American League and the Coast, just because like both leagues are good now. Like both league have players that can play, and tough guys and skilled guys, and but like when you get to the American League and you're not on one of those NHL deals, it's almost like you're even fighting harder against it.
Do you just kind of an off-topic question from earlier? Do you think fighting is going to continue to have a place in hockey, or do you think that it'll be banned essentially internationally, or at least on North American pro scale? Do you think it'll ever?
I don't think it'll ever go away completely, but you definitely have. It's definitely changed, as in like, I don't know, who do you consider a fighter? Like Tom Wilson, I don't consider him a fighter. I consider him a guy that plays hard and plays tough, and that can fight. Like you'll have guys like that, and he plays with Ovechkin, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't know how accurate my assumptions are, but he's a guy that can score goals and make plays, and he's willing to drop the gloves and protect his teammates. So I don't think it'll ever go away completely, but more so of the guys that can't play hockey and they're just there strictly to fight.
So we've asked this question for guys that have followed a similar pro path of kind of finishing up in North America and then signing on either to the KHL or to Italy or to France or to the UK or Sweden. What led to your decision to move from North America and start playing in Italy?
Yeah, it was a tough decision because I loved Cincinnati. I had a great time there. It's a great place to play. It's an undercover city. Like it's a really nice city. And then my coach actually left for the American League. So that was kind of one of the factors, because we had a really good relationship. So I wasn't really sure what the next coach was going to be like. And then I had an opportunity to get my Italian passport. So I wanted to take that kind of venture and see. But sometimes I, hindsight, you wish maybe you stuck it out maybe 1 or 2 more years and see what happened. But, I don't really have any regrets.
So what made you want to move to Italy anyways? I mean, I know that that's, part of your bloodline and everything. And I want to get to it later too. I don't want to forget that you did represent Italy on the international scale. I believe it was last year. So what kind of led to your decision to go there, and I guess then eventually to represent Italy as well? Not to fast forward through what we're talking about, but just want to focus on Italy for a second.
Right. So to be considered a talent, you have to play 2 years in Italy. So you can have a passport, but you won't be able to play for the national team until you play in Italy for 2 years. So that's kind of, I mean, I had options to go other places in Europe, but it was kind of like I should fast forward and go to Italy right away, kind of just to get those 2 years done, and then I could represent Italy, which took a little bit longer than I had hoped, but eventually it worked out. Yeah.
Nice. So before we get to moving on to Cardiff, you also play in Denmark. And real quick, what was that like? Because we actually just, Andrew, we just had, was it Tansy that was on 2 weeks ago? And he's now playing in Denmark at the moment.
Yeah.
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 So what was it like? What was it like doing a quick stint in Denmark? Because we asked Tansy about Denmark. Let's see if your experiences match his.
Yeah. So that was the COVID year. So it was tough to kind of find a job. So I wasn't really sure what was going to happen. And then a coach that I had in Cincinnati, Mark Lefebvre, he was coaching in Denmark. And I contacted him, and he gave me the opportunity to go out. And Denmark, the country is unbelievable. Like, I had such a good time there. That might have been one of my favorite places to play. Like, even with the COVID restrictions and stuff like that, it was just great group, like great people, awesome city. And then, but the hockey was kind of a little different for me. Like, it was a little too soft, and I couldn't really play a physical style. It was tough for me. So it was just, it felt really soft.
Yeah.
So you had moved, so now you move on to Cardiff, first time in EIHL. I just want to talk about your introduction to EIHL. How did you get a hold of somebody to get that deal? Was it an agent or something? Did a coach just call you? How did you end up in Cardiff?
Yeah, honestly, I've just been doing my own calls, own text. I just been grinding it out. That's how it kind of feels like how my career has gone. I keep sticking around and pushing, and something finally works out, because our coach, Jared Scaldi, he coached with one of the coaches in Cincinnati. So I got a contact through that, and I texted Scalds and I said, "Hey, what do you think?" And he responded right away. We had a couple phone calls, and he said, "Yeah, we'd love to have you." So I kind of been kind of doing my own work for the past 4 or 5 years, but yeah.
So you're definitely a multifaceted player, but just to go on sort of the tough guy role here for a minute. So I'm pulling up, and Andrew and I checked out your stuff about a year ago when you're in Cardiff, and we just love it. Maybe it's a Boston thing, I don't know, but we love this style of play. But I do got to ask, and if you don't want to get too into it, that's fine. But the YouTube where you kind of attack everybody on the place, you kind of like snap, and like some fan, I don't know where it was, but some fans running down and we wanted to fight you right off the yacht. What's going on over there with that?
Yeah, it was sometimes it just turns red, and you can't control it. Yeah. I still get abuse from that every time I go there. So it hasn't passed yet. So
Where was it? Where was it again?
it was in Dundee, Scotland.
Yeah.
So one of the teams up north. Yeah, it was just one of those times where you kind of lose it, and then you get a bottle thrown, and then you kind of lose it again, and then you got to get escorted off the ice. But those things happen. It's it's an entertainment. I mean, it puts on a show for the fans. So some people don't like it, but that's how it is.
Yeah, I think you were listed as one of the 3 top most disliked players. Obviously not Cardiff, but from the rest of the league last year. That's a badge of honor right there, man.
It's fun being the villain sometimes.
Yeah, it's like Marchand, but with a lot of muscles and strength. Not to say Marchand isn't strong.
So has the fan bases overseas really surprised you, especially like with that soccer mentality and how close they are, especially like after playing in the AHL and ECHL? You know, we get good crowds in Tulsa, I feel like, but it's not like, you know, people are paying tons of attention all the time and things, but it seems like they're into it. Doesn't matter which team. What's kind of been your experience comparing it to the North American teams that you played for?
Yeah, I mean, it's more I don't know how to say, more intimate. Like they're right above you, they're yelling at you the whole game. But we had some experiences in Toledo and the jungle in Fort Wayne. Like those are places where, like, you know, when you go there, you're like, this is going to be a tough night. So I've kind of experienced that already. So I'm kind of used to it. But yeah, it's a little different with these smaller rinks, and just some people just don't know when to stop. So it's like all game, all game, all game. So, you know, there's only so much you can take after a while.
So I take it that the EIHL is similar with not offering like extended contracts, much like the East Coast League over here. So things might not work out in Cardiff. And I heard you were just insistent with Fox at Sheffield to say, "Hey, I'm your guy here. Sign me," and he did. How did that come about with dealing with Fox and then Tony, the owner, of signing a deal for Sheffield?
Yeah, I mean, I had a chance to play World Championships, so I wanted to take that opportunity and kind of see what my offers would be after that, just because I would get a lot more exposure, which I had some offers from France and Hungary and stuff like that, but I just knew that the UK fit my style more, and I knew I know what I can bring to any team. So I know, like, people just like to say this, oh, I can't play hockey, but I mean, you can look at my stats, you can look at where I've played and where I've been. Like, I don't think you're playing many places if especially when you're an import, and like out of 4 imports, they're not taking a guy that can't play hockey. So yeah, so I called Foxy and I said, "Hey, I'm ready when you are." And yeah, luckily we made a deal, and I'm happy to be here.
So how hard is it as a professional athlete to kind of be, doesn't matter which league it is, when it's kind of set up that way where it's just kind of 1 year deals and everything, not having some sort of comfort that you're going to have that job security for 4 or 5 years, whatever a good term contract would be? Is it tough mentally to kind of like stay on track, especially if you're bouncing team to team just due to contracts and cap situations? I know we kind of talked about it earlier with the ECHL team chemistry, but for you personally as a pro athlete, does that affect you at all ever, the mindset?
Yeah, it's a grind in the summer. Like, I didn't find out I was coming to Sheffield until like August. So it's like you gotta kind of wait around all summer, especially like when you're not a top guy. Like I wouldn't consider myself a top guy, but I definitely bring something necessary for a team. So you kind of have to wait a little bit longer than maybe like most teams are looking for, you know, a sniper or a goal scorer or something like that. So those guys probably have the first couple of options. So for me, I kind of have to wait it out and see. But for the most part, I've been pretty confident that a team will end up taking me. So luckily I haven't really had any problems so far.
So let's talk a little Sheffield here right now. So Sheffield was off to a great start. And Andrew and I did a quick episode not too long ago, just going through stats and so forth. And, you know, minus the January where you guys have had a little bit of a slump, and hopefully you're past that now that it's in February. A lot of depth on this team. And you're having a very good season. I mean, Andrew, where we're at, like 7 goals, 20 points in 35 games.
Yeah, he's already
Everybody's contributing. A lot of vets on this team. Talk a little bit about team chemistry, and I'm just amazed at the depth. It reminds me a lot of like the Boston Bruins right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at our roster, we have a lot of guys that have played in really good leagues and really good places. So it's been nice. I mean, to be honest, Greeny's been saving us. The goalie, Matt Greenfield, he's been playing unbelievable. That's why he's one of the top goalies in the league. So he's definitely been saving us. But yeah, when we went on that run, it was just everything was clicking. And, you know, sometimes you go through those slumps, but we know we have a good team, and we know we're gonna, you know, hopefully be there in the end. So yeah, it's been good. Everyone's contributing. Fourth line, third line. We have 4 lines that can play. All of our D can play. So yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, do you want to jump to the lightning round now?
No, I just a couple quick follow-ups here before we get to lightning round. So
Sure.
talk a little bit, Brandon, about the Sheffield fans. You know, based on Andrew and I getting to know a lot of Sheffield fans online through the podcast, doesn't look like it seems like everybody hates on the Sheffield fans. But the Sheffield fans, I mean, they seem passionate. You guys have had, I think, a bunch of sellouts there. Talk a little bit about the fan base specifically in Sheffield, and what is it like for the opponents to come into that building?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was Boxing Day, the games around Christmas. I think it might have been 9,000 fans. Like, that's insane. Like, that's incredible. So the fans have been really supportive this year, especially, you know, coming off of COVID, where, you know, money might be a little bit tight. It's been great for us to have that support. And yeah, it's a tough place to come in. I mean, unfortunately, we haven't been too good at home. So that's something, you know, we need to improve on, which we're going to make it more of a fortress like in Fort Wayne and the jungle. But yeah, it's been incredible, because last year I'm pretty sure all 9,000 of them in the rink hated me. So yeah.
So talk a little bit about locker room culture here. It seems to me there's a good culture going on there in the locker room at Sheffield. And again, you guys just got through the first and only slump that you've had all this season, but you guys have got the semifinals for the Challenge Cup coming up against Fife in a week or so. What's going on in the locker room? What's being talked about? I mean, you got great players like Dowd that's there. What are the voices saying in the locker room?
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of leaders in our team, a lot of guys that have been around. So a captain, Jono, we know we can't get too high, can't get too low. And that's kind of been the message, kind of stick with it when things aren't going too great. And, you know, we have the team to bounce back from that Challenge Cup. And, you know, we have a team that can go on a run again. So that's kind of what we need. And that's kind of what, you know, we've been focusing on. We can only focus on us. It's about us. Like, it's not about, you know, what anyone else is saying. So we got to take care of our games.
And what's the role like for you there at Sheffield? Are you happy with the role that you're in? You're certainly producing points. I mean, I think you're already surpassing points that you did last year. I could be wrong. Maybe I shouldn't say that, Andrew. Andrew's a stat guy.
And just that guy. Yeah, I mean, it's been good. Like, I knew my role coming in, and I've been playing my role. I mean, last year I was on the power play too, and I have more points this year, and I'm not on the power play. So I think I've contributed enough to help the team win, and I think I can only do what I need to do, and kind of, you know, look in the mirror and say, play your role, and that's it.
Last question. What's the work ethic right now, getting ready for that semifinal Challenge Cup game and finishing out the season? What's the work ethic at practice? How are the coaches pushing you guys? And I mean, certainly you guys haven't been sleeping at the wheel, even though I think some fans might have mentioned that in January. I mean, that's certainly not the case with pros. But what's the work ethic, and what are you guys doing to right the ship and getting back to the way it was?
Yeah, well, it's funny, you know, like, you know, it's funny when people say, oh, you can't take a night off. You can't take a night off. Well, we're not taking a night off. We're always, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I'm giving it my all every game. And, you know, like, maybe I make a bad play, but it's, oh, he took a night off. It's funny. It's funny when you hear that, but we just got to stay focused and control us. I mean, we're going to have a February break actually next week for international. So I'm actually going to Italy for the national team to play some games there. And then we come back. I think GB is doing an international break too. So they'll be playing a couple of international games. And then we come back and we got to focus on, coming back from a 1-goal deficit and take care of business.
So do you think that breaks are going to be a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I'm gonna be skating and playing hockey still, so I won't really lose anything, hopefully. So I think it'll be good for me, kind of just to get a change a little bit for the week and kind of get in a new dressing room and kind of let the mind relax and have a new experience, a good experience, and then come back refreshed. I know some guys maybe go on a trip to do that, but I just love playing hockey. I could do it all the time, so I'm excited to go there. Yeah.
All right, Andrew, first lightning round, you take it. All right, so Brandon, like I said, lightning round, all you're going to do, first thing that comes to your mind, if there's a story, feel free, the time is yours. It might just be a name. You could just say a name, and that's fine too. All right, here we go. We're going to put him on the spot, Andrew.
Who is or was the toughest goalie for you to score on in your career so far?
Oh, geez.
Vasilevsky at camp.
I scored on him.
Oh, there you go.
That's my claim to fame.
Wow.
I mean, we had Caruth last year. He was unbelievable. Greenfield this year. Trying to think.
Real question about Greenfield is he's played every game, it seems, played every game. How is he holding up? And what an opportunity for this guy. I mean, poor Oslung got hurt, right? Didn't play. And I guess he was projected to be the number one. And then, Greenfield just sort of said, okay, and took the opportunity. And boy, is he having a season.
Yeah, it's been incredible. I mean, good for him. He's such a good guy. Talk about a locker room guy. He's such a good guy. Everyone loves him. He's the type of guy that, makes you want to work harder for him just because he's such a good person and he's such a good player. So it's been, what a break for him. And I don't think anyone's could be more happier for him.
Any pregame superstitions or rituals?
I like to listen to Blink-182 a little bit. Taylor Swift.
Nice. What's your favorite Blink-182 song? Or which one is your jam?
Ooh. I Miss You.
Nice. Yeah. Good stuff.
Andrew?
Which arena had the worst ice conditions or so far? We always hear the Florida teams are pretty bad.
I can only remember this year. I'm trying to think. I mean, some of the rinks in Italy were outside, but although they were outside, it made the ice better because it was colder. So I got to say Manchester's ice is pretty bad.
Okay, toughest player, two-part question. Toughest player that you fought against and toughest player to play against, meaning, you're battling in front of the net and this guy is just so strong.
Toughest player I've fought is actually a pretty good story. I think I was in St. John's and I kind of realized that, I needed to do something else to kind of stick around. So, and at that point I think it might've been my first or second fight ever. Well, professional hockey fight. And I fought Mark Fraser. I want to say it's Mark Fraser.
Yeah.
Guy that played for Ottawa.
And Toronto too, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was Mark Fraser. So it didn't go so well. Like, I think he broke his hand on my head. But I felt pretty good. I felt pretty good about it. And then the next day at practice, coach called me in and I thought I was going to get like a attaboy. And it was more of a, do you know who you fought last night? And I said, no, not really. He goes, oh, well, do your research next time. And he kind of shut the door.
Wow.
Yeah, but
So, off the beat question, because we've asked this with guys that have dropped the gloves, particularly former players. They describe the situation where a guy is going to say, "Hey, you want to go?" And all of a sudden, you go from being sort of, aware that you're in a hockey game, but then it clicks and you just see red. And they talk about it's just a switch that goes on, and you just got to start fighting and trying to put your fist through the guy's head. Is that what it's like for you when it's finally like, okay, I'm dropping the gloves? Is it instant turn, switching to the switch?
I would say it's more of when I, take that first punch, then it's more of like, okay, I got to turn it on here. Maybe I'm in one. So, yeah, I wouldn't say it's ever been really like instant turn red unless it's, one of my teammates was hit badly or I was hit badly or something like that. Then it's more of angry. Yeah.
And
It's like that preseason brawl we saw you in too. You just like took on the whole damn team. I forgot who you were playing too, but it was so funny. So who's been the rat in your career, or is there a current rat in the IHL, especially a guy that likes to get under your skin, but that maybe won't fight you? Is there a Marchant or anybody like that you've had in your career?
I would say I would say Collins is pretty good at being the rat role that we have on in Sheffield. So he didn't play last year because he was hurt, but we played him at the beginning of the year, and I think maybe we got in a little like pushing match, and I was like, oh, this guy, it's gonna be a long year playing against this guy. But unfortunately, I think he hurt himself last year, so he missed the whole year. But this year, he's kind of played that role. I feel like he's played that role his whole life. So it's if his player comparison would be Brad Marchand 100%, because he can score, he can make plays, and he plays that that rat role.
This could go all the way back to your collegiate career. Who is favorite line mate?
Eric Neely. He was a Sheffield Steeler too. We played together in college, and then we've been trying to play together pro. We've been trying to find a place to play together. I was hoping that he would come back to the UK, but he's settled nice down in Atlanta right now. So,
what's the most embarrassing thing to happen to you during a game or warm up?
Ooh, most embarrassing thing during a game. I mean, the classic falling in warm up is pretty good. Gets the boys going.
Have you ever scored on your own net on accident or seen that on your team?
No, but we had a good it's actually funny. We had maybe this one's not embarrassing, but it's a good moment. There was a top 10 Sports Center Canadian hockey day, whatever. It wasn't even me, but I was on the ice of a guy shooting it down the ice into an empty net, and Bud Holloway, he skated full speed and jumped and batted the puck out of the air with one hand, and it was like the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. It's probably on YouTube. It's like Bud Holloway saves empty net goal. It's crazy. I think you can see me in the background because I'm just waiting for the goal to go in.
It's awesome.
Right. For me, the last one, and then Andrew, you can finish. Worst locker room you've ever been in. Where was it at? We're gonna say pro career. Leave out collegiate.
Pro career?
Yeah.
My memory's not great, to be honest. I'm only thinking UK, but I'm sure there were some in Italy because, like I said before, like some of the rinks are outside and it's freezing cold, and I mean Manchester's not great again. Manchester, it's freezing.
Poor Manchester.
No hot showers. I feel like I would love playing there though, because I like the small rink.
So I don't mean for this one to sound too broad or generic, but just the first thing that pops in your head whenever I say, what's been the most fond memory of your hockey career so far?
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to one of the guys today about that. You never really get a chance to kind of look back and say like, wow, I did that. So last year I played World Championship in Finland. So I played Canada. I'm trying to think who was on Canada. Played against Barzell, Sider from Germany, who plays on Detroit. I think Tatar was in Slovakia. Well, I played against the first round draft pick last year too, who's in Montreal. So that was definitely one where you'll look back and say, hey, like, wow, that was crazy. We were actually beating Canada 1-0. It didn't end well, but yeah, that was definitely a fond moment. And then another one that always, when I get asked this question, that I always remember is when we, for high school, was when Belmont Hill played St. Sebastian's at Fenway for the Winter Classic. And I scored, and I pretended like I hit a home run off the Green Monster, over the Green Monster.
Oh, that's awesome.
There weren't many camera crews and photos being taken back then, so I don't have that memory on film, which I wish I did. But yeah,
that's awesome. We're going to say goodbye off air, but officially, we can't thank you enough. This has been great for us, and yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's been awesome.
All right, Andrew, we finally got Brandon on. What do you think? Great guy.
Yeah, great guy. Excited to have the Sheffield listeners tune in on this one. And yeah, just was an awesome interview with a great guy. I was excited to get him on.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some Cardiff fans that are going to listen to this as well. And Boston boy, so I love that. I love his style of play. He is a power forward, but he'll stick up for his teammates. And you know, he does have that little bit of crazy switch that kind of goes off every once in a while. It's pretty entertaining.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. And definitely we need to look up that one video he was talking about too. That sounded pretty funny. So yeah, definitely check out Brandon McNally's career, because dude's a savage. He really is.
He is. He is. Great player. Anyway, Andrew, we've got more guests coming on. And we're off to 2023, off to a great start.
Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in today. Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.